All right. Good morning. This is awesome. So I want to start by just expressing my gratitude and excitement to be here with you this morning. I am from our corporate headquarters in Austin, Texas. So what an incredible opportunity to be down under, to meet with a healthy contingent of LabVIEW users that I've never had the opportunity to meet before. So in the time that I have this morning, I want to reintroduce NI and introduce myself and some of the members of the team. And really the hope here is to invite discussion, feedback, and engagement throughout the conference. I am a LabVIEW architect. I've been with NI around 19 years, and I'll explain a little bit more about my history, but I think, I want to start by acknowledging there's been a lot of change in the last few years. If you've been watching, right, we were acquired, we've gone through some leadership changes. And so I want to address directly what that means for NI and for LabVIEW and for our software strategy. And again, to do so with the goal of inviting discussion, feedback, and engagement. I've had the good fortune to go to a number of GDevCons. They're an awesome event, as well as user groups all around the world. And there's definitely some patterns to some of the points of feedback and questions I get from the LabVIEW user community. But I'm really eager to get that data point for this region of the world, this being my first visit down under, at least for work. So with that, let me start with the big picture for NI and Emerson. So as you may have heard, we were acquired. I guess it's been 2 years now since the acquisition was closed, maybe not quite. I don't know, it's a blur. But coming out of that, there were a lot of questions around what that meant for LabVIEW and for NI and for our strategy. And I think we've tried to be as clear and explicit as possible. It's actually a great thing for the future of LabVIEW. I think if you look at the song and dance with Emerson and why they were interested in us, they really valued our core test and measurement business. And if you look at what made that great, and what made that profitable and grew it into the business that we all know it to be, at the core, it was LabVIEW, DAC, and PXI. And so I think over the last few years, we can talk about what arguably may have been distractions or side journeys, but I think what this has spurred is a refocus on the core of what made NI great. And at the center of that is very much LabVIEW. So Ritu Favre is our president. She's been with NI for many years. And she has said very publicly, most recently at NI Connect this past, April in Fort Worth, that we very much are the LabVIEW company. And what this means from a strategic standpoint is that we are going to be investing more in LabVIEW. You're already going to see some examples of that, and we're happy to talk through those in the time that we have today or tomorrow. But as we ramp up considerable new investment into our core software platform, that's where discussion and feedback from users like yourself becomes a hugely valuable input for us. So be it in this forum or in the forum tomorrow, my hope is to give you insight into where we are spending our time and energy, but to invite discussion, feedback, disagreement, tomatoes, whatever, to tell me where you would prefer our investments be, or things that we may need to invest in that are missing from our current plans. So that's NI. We are very much the LabVIEW company. As I mentioned, I've been with NI about 19 years. I want to introduce myself a little bit too. This is a montage of some of the things about my background and history. So I was the LabVIEW product manager for many, many years, starting in 2007. And my charter was actually to convince people that LabVIEW should be used for large systems. So it was this notion at the time like, oh, maybe we should start talking about LabVIEW as a programming language and talk about architectures and configuration management and software engineering. And at the time too, we were seeing more LabVIEW usage in highly regulated industries, think avionics, medical, et cetera. And so suddenly you had to prove the quality of your software. These concepts like unit testing were new kids on the block. And the reality is many LabVIEW programmers don't hearken from the world of computer science or software engineering. So often we were introducing our users, many were physicists or mechanical engineers or electrical engineers, to these concepts to ensure they're successful. We were inadvertently turning a lot of people into software engineers. And so my charter was to help ensure they were successful as they grew their system. So I was out there talking about object-oriented programming and abstraction layers and actor-based frameworks, et cetera. I put the spaghetti code up there because I used that slide a lot as an example of what not to do. And a lot of my presentations used to start with like, This is something you can do in any language. Arguably in LabVIEW, the benefit is it's easier to spot, right? It's a selling point actually, because you can make spaghetti code in any language. But you know, it ran the risk of engendering the perception that this was synonymous with LabVIEW. I think everybody here knows that that's not actually the case. And that was a large part of what I spent my time and passion working on, was to talk about how to build really scalable LabVIEW test software architectures. I've had the good fortune to work with customers all over the world, be it CERN, SpaceX, medical devices, semiconductor, et cetera. I've seen some incredibly sophisticated LabVIEW applications. One that I like to brag about is a company in Northern California. They've got a 50-person team working on a 40,000 VI project with 400 projects, all actor framework based, really, really complicated build processes with PPLs. But kind of an example of some of the really large, sophisticated applications I get to see and work with. So I left the LabVIEW world about 4 or 5 years ago as part of our transformation as a company. I went to go focus on electric vehicles, still with NI. But I came back about a year ago, and when I came back, it was to really re-engage the user community. I think we acknowledged that we'd gotten distracted. We hadn't been investing in LabVIEW. We had, we'd stopped showing up at GDevCon. We'd stopped showing up at user groups. Although Nancy was at GDevCon Australia last time, right? So, but I think we wanted to really acknowledge and lean into the value of engaging with our users and talking about LabVIEW. And that's what I've been doing for the last 14 months or so since I came back to this role. And I'm going to talk more about what that means. It's not just meetings, it's also looking into open sourcing parts of our products. That's been a big charter for my team and a big focus for us. And so that's something where I really want to invite discussion and insight where you want to see more things open sourced and where you'd like to collaborate. Also big into automation for personal standpoints. That's my custom homebrew automation system. Also working with Norm and others at NI to give more of the spotlight to our internal experts and external experts as well. So shameless plug to check us out on the NI Apps YouTube channel. But let me also introduce the other members of my team, because we also brought several folks that are very much LabVIEW experts from the region, from NI. So we've got Harsha and Shiva Prasad sitting up front here. Harsha is one of our principal product managers, been with NI about 9 years, also a former R&D developer, worked on Vision. What other products did you work on? RF. And Shiva Prasad's been with LabVIEW R&D in the Bangalore office for, you said 19 years? 17 years. Okay. And currently working on some of the interop capabilities. So think Python, C# assemblies and wrappers and those capabilities, but very much a leader in the LabVIEW R&D team in our Bangalore offices, which is one of our larger R&D offices for LabVIEW. So they're both visiting from Bangalore. And then we've got Aaron Zhu visiting us from Shanghai. There you are, Aaron. So Chief Support Engineer, LabVIEW Architect, right? Yep, LabVIEW Architect. Works closely with Darren and Chris Roebuck, who, if you know, I mean, these guys are very much leaders in the LabVIEW community. So our trusted LabVIEW architect and resource for the APAC region. Okay, so, and by the way, we have our booth. These guys, myself, will be there hanging out. So please come check us out. We can talk about new features. We can take your feedback. We'd love to use this opportunity to engage and discuss with you. Okay, so that's my introduction. Let's talk about what NI's software strategy is. So it's based on these 3 pillars, and we've been talking about this for the last 18 months now, since NI Connect 24. But it's, as I mentioned, we really want to strengthen our software. We want to connect our software better together, and then really look at building community, hence us being here and more things like open source. Strengthening software is really about increased investment. Connecting workflows is really about taking LabVIEW and acknowledging it's one of a portfolio of products, but we also have TestStand and VeriStand and Instrument Studio and Diadem and SystemLink. And there have been periods of time where it's kind of looked like totally separate companies built these products without any regard for how they should be used together. So we're being more purposeful in how we organize and operate to make sure that we're serving customers and their workflows as intended with these products coming together. So we've even restructured product management to look at these customer workflows that span products versus having separate product management, entirely separate R&D organizations. Now, when we look at LabVIEW, let's be clear about what its purpose is. It's, most of our users don't make commoditized low technology stuff. Like, that's the cool thing about this job. I get to work with people doing really high tech stuff. But the reason our products serve that market so well is that no two people's applications are typically the same. And so LabVIEW exists for that customization, the bespoke test software that you ultimately need. But if you need a test executive, right, that's why Test Stand exists. It's not a sales pitch. It's just philosophically, we exist to give those higher level starting points and then anticipate they will be extended and customized most productively through the use of LabVIEW. And that's LabVIEW's purpose in life. Okay, and then building community is the other aspect that we're going to talk a little bit about. From a strengthening software perspective, I mentioned this earlier, but I like to, unit testing is so important, it's on there twice. That's for you, Fab. No, that's should be dynamic analysis. Anyway, the point is, this is, in my experience, I made the slide because I think there's kind of a predictable journey a lot of our customers go through. Like, and some people never leave the first box, right? There's still plenty of people using LabVIEW in a lab and they're just talking to a scope and they love it and that's great and I celebrate that. But what tends to happen, I don't know if anybody here can relate, is you were that person in the lab talking to the scope and then it worked so well, suddenly they were like, oh, could you also do this? Oh, could you also add this? And suddenly you have multiple instruments, multiple test capabilities. Now you're thinking like, oh man, I gotta serve this other group in here. I should think about a reuse library. Maybe I should actually document my code. Hey boss, I need another developer to help me keep up with this. And suddenly you end up with a team of developers, and reuse libraries and documentation, and APIs, and we again kind of inadvertently turn a lot of our users into software engineers. So what's happened is if you look at the nature of the feedback that we get and what people are trying to do with LabVIEW, it's not just, hey, help me be more productive in talking to a scope. It's like, how do I do continuous integration and continuous delivery? How do I containerize LabVIEW so I can spin up automated Git activities? How do I step through code reviews for a 1,000 VI project? And so as we look at strengthening software, it's across the spectrum. There are things we're doing in the editor that will make your day-to-day more productive, new debugging tools that I think serve everybody in this workflow. But a lot of our investments are also on the right side here, right? As we look at what people need when they have very large projects and very large teams trying to work together. So I don't know if that journey is something anyone here relates to, but it's something we've certainly seen a lot. Anyone here a computer scientist by background or software engineer? A few of you? Anyone here mechanical, electrical? Yeah, okay. That's pretty representative. There are certainly computer scientists in our ranks, but many mechanical engineers cut their teeth in software with LabVIEW. Okay, so LabVIEW 2025 is far more feature rich than some of the most recent releases, and this is kind of an eye chart of some of the new things. I can demo a few of these, but we also have a laptop set up at our booth where we can actually show you some of the latest capabilities. Note too that as an example of some of the philosophical changes at NI, we have 13 idea exchange submissions in the Q3 build. And if you had noticed, we had stopped really reviewing idea exchange. That's changing. So this is kind of an eye chart of some of the new capabilities in 2025 Q3. Zooming back out though, there are some themes around where we're spending our time and energy from the software platform perspective. So this is a high level NI Connectified slide. You can see that there's been a big focus on some of these higher level tools. Anyone here ever heard of or used Instrument Studio? All right, okay, a few of you. If you have LabVIEW Plus, that's this higher level interactive tool. So everyone's used to a box with buttons and knobs and screens. Well, we want the same experience for PXI. But low code, higher level starting points, streamlined measurements. I mentioned DevOps, so think CI, CD. I'm just curious, who here, I'll say, cares about CI, CD as a concept and principle, whether or not you use it? Okay, I'll peg that at 60% of y'all. So that's been a big, I think too, for those of you that didn't raise your hand or were tepid, perhaps it's just too hard to set it up and do it, right? So our goal is to make it far more accessible to the LabVIEW community, and that's some of the investments we've been making. But a big one is this one down at the bottom left. And this is, again, look at the whole holistic view of all of the investments we're making. This is a multi-year journey, multiple releases, but amongst them is this whole AI thing that you may have heard a little bit about. So AI is certainly something that a lot of people are talking about, and it's something that we have been working on and teasing in various forums like NI Connect. But this past NI Connect, guess what was that, a month ago now, we actually announced definitive plans to release Nigel, our AI advisor. So this will actually be coming to LabVIEW in the Q3 release. It'll be integrated into LabVIEW and Test Stand. It is included for anyone that uses the professional version of LabVIEW. And I think what's important to acknowledge, it is a first release, and it will just get smarter and more capable over time, as is true with all AIs. So, by the way, talking with Chris, I'm very amenable to being flexible in what we do, but I was going to try to give you a brief demonstration of Nigel right now. So, oh, wow. Now, this is a pre-release build of LabVIEW, and you might be wondering, why on earth does he insist on switching laptops? R&D said, don't even install PowerPoint on this one. Keep it just to the demo. So we're going to switch to this build of LabVIEW 2025 Q3 with a copy of Nigel installed. Oh, by the way, any fellow Mac users here? LabVIEW for Mac is back. Woo! Yeah, no, selfishly, I told Emerson, I'm like, I'm not going to switch to a PC. So I insisted to bring LabVIEW for Mac back, so I had a valid excuse to keep using a Mac. Yeah. Oh, thank you. All right. That's only half serious, by the way. A big reason we brought LabVIEW for Mac back is the student community. A lot of students and younger engineers tend to prefer. Yeah. No, I hadn't turned the screen on yet. Oh, helps if you put it in all the way. Oh, goodness. Try it one more time. I think it just connected. Hey, there we go. All right. Before I show you this, all disclaimers apply to a live software demo of pre-release software. You guys, if you've done it, you know how it can go. But this is a pre-release build of the forthcoming Q3 build that's going to be coming out soon. We'll start with LabVIEW. So, minimize test stand. This particular VI is a simple producer-consumer queued message handler. Humorously, R&D chose this VI for its simple and readable nature. I wrote it. They chose it off GitHub. I didn't even tell them to use it. But this is a framework that's used to help students find curriculum to interface with Arduino targets in LabVIEW. So what we're going to do is, here we go. So we can discuss this VI with Nigel, and Nigel will be directly integrated into both LabVIEW and Test Stand, and it'll have the context of the VI you're actively working on. It uses a cloud-hosted LLM running on a public tenant that you connect to, and all these natural questions around the future of that. Yes, there are ways to eventually have a retrieval augmentation system or have an instance of it locally, but for now, it's trained as a model that you connect to and access, so you'll require internet access for it. And I can do things like ask it, what does this code do? So there is an intermediate representation of the VI file format that is what we are using to train the LLM and how it's actually understanding the capabilities of the code. So it can give me information about the application. I can ask it, how are messages passed from the user interface? Now, the primary purpose out of the gate for Nigel is to help understand and consume code. And that's kind of where we're starting, and it intends to get smarter and more capable over time. So it's often the scenario where people are inheriting applications. Bob retired or moved to a new department, and now you need to add functionality to it. So the primary use case, at least for now, or the most valuable context, I think, for this initial release will be, help me understand what this code does. Someone gave me this code. Maybe it's not well documented, or maybe it is documented, but it's just complicated, and I need help understanding where I add functionality or how it works. That's really what it's aimed for out of the box. So here we can see it's explaining the use of the event structure, how it enqueues command. I'll say, what is the message format that is used to pass commands? By the way, since this was written for students, I intentionally didn't do anything like OOP or Actor Framework. It's very basic producer-consumer queued message handler. So it's using enum, which is right, and it's using the variant. So this is something too. Anybody want to? Here, it's prompt engineering. Anybody want dynamic prompts? You guys want me to try out here? There's some limitations to it right now. It's not able to interact with the front panel in this particular build. And the first question is, what about CodeGen? Coming soon, not in this build, but it's all very much about, that exponential learning cycle of making it capable of getting smarter, understanding more application logic towards some of those eventualities like code generation. So the other demonstration is in test stand, which again, test stand will have Nigel integrated to it in the Q3 release. So here, for example, I have Nigel integrated into the test stand IDE. I can also rip it out and have it as a floating window. And so I could say, what does this test sequence do? And I can even have it help me find things in the editor. I could say, let's see, is this test sequence running a parallel model? And for any test stand users with a sharp eye, you can see at the bottom the model is currently sequential model. Is this test sequence running a parallel model? Yes. Wait.
You confused it because you made it go back from parallel to sequential before. So.
Please change it to a parallel process model. What's that? Yeah. Ah, there we go. Change it. See, change it to a parallel process model. And then I can say, where in test stand did you make this change? Can you open the window where I edit the process model? Yeah. So one of the complexities of test stand that we hear quite a bit about is like, oh yeah, you can do that thing. It's just in that, menu, sub-menu, tab, then you open that other dialog and it's that radio button on the third. Like, it's crazy because it's so powerful. Sometimes just finding where to do stuff is the hardest part of test stand. So navigating both editors is one of the core goals for Nigel, again, for LabVIEW and for test stand. We're getting started with those two products, but it's very much going to be something that is interwoven into all of our products over time. Okay, so that's a quick crash course on Nigel. And I should be clear, the time that we have tomorrow, it's meant to be a panel discussion for myself and the other NI folks to take any questions or points of feedback. So I do want to prompt everybody here to be thinking about feedback or topics of discussion that you want to go over tomorrow. And if you come by the booth, I'm happy. I have this laptop. We can look at more demos of Nigel together. You can help me try to break it. The official installers for it will be available soon, and so we'll have more robust demonstrations. But again, it's a single data point, it's a single moment in time, and the intention is that it is getting exponentially smarter quite rapidly. Okay, a few other closing slides, and then I'll yield my time. As the community guy, I did want to take the opportunity to talk about what we mean when we talk about the importance of community and the focus on community. So, boom. All right, so when I came into this role, user groups, I think GDevCon is really the ultimate user group, the user group of all user groups. But if you look at the state of all things, especially between our waning interests, we got rid of a lot of our field sellers, COVID happened, a lot of these physical events stopped happening or dwindled in size. And what we found is that a little bit of free pizza and some love from NI has gone a long way towards really getting people excited about talking about LabVIEW again. And frankly, one of the most valuable aspects of user groups and forums like this is just the networking element, connecting with the overall community. Obviously, you can look at tools like Python, and everybody's like, oh, Python has such a huge user community. True, but I will challenge that the range of what people are doing with Python is so varied that you get two Python developers and they may or may not have common challenges or experiences. You get two LabVIEW programmers together, and it's often the case that they're working on very, very similar things, very similar points of frustration, because it's very much a programming language for interfacing with the physical world. That's what we do, and that's what we do really well. So I think there's incredible value in user events and facilitating that in-person engagement. It's also really valuable for us to get the feedback and commentary from our user community. Some other things we've done from a community perspective, we are publishing our roadmaps to ni.com. They're now public on ni.com, I think, /software roadmaps. So you can see for the next 6 to 12 months what new features we're working on across all of our products. We've also made some important changes to training and certification, including, who here is a certified anything? CLAD, certified LabVIEW developer, certified test stand architect, whatever. Okay, so we've made it easier to get and stay certified. Coming to an event like this, we've doubled the point value. If you are lapsed, is anybody here lapsed? It's okay. Okay, you can now get recertified using the point system just for the duration of this year. And engagement at events like these are double the value. Oh, and contributing to open source is also going to be a source of recertification points. So we're going to talk about that too. Talk about that more tomorrow. We're also back in academia. So we are re-engaging with universities all over the world to help with student workshops and help with curriculum, to help professors and teachers that are teaching LabVIEW workshops. So this is really one way of looking at this is the charter of my team as the community director, and these are some of the key focus areas. The two libraries we've open sourced are Active Framework and Icon Editor. We have a trove of others that we're looking to open source quickly. I'd love to explain, perhaps in the time I have tomorrow, a little bit more about how we're managing that and what we are looking to open source next. And then please bring your questions, points of feedback. In fact, to help with tomorrow, be thinking about these. I wanted to kind of seed the discussion because it is meant to be a panel discussion. You can ask about the product. That's the easy one. You know, when are you going to add this feature? Or why haven't you released a new version of this product? Whatever. Absolutely bring those points of feedback and concern, but also anything as it pertains to academia, where we need to help you with university engagement, open source, what you want to see open sourced, how we can help you with growing the overall community, the future of AI. I gave you a little preview here. Happy to show that. I can also show you some of the new features in the product, although perhaps a better way to do that is come to the booth. We've got a demo set up where you can quickly browse through some of the new capabilities in the latest releases. But that's me seeding tomorrow's panel discussion. So be thinking about it. We'll be there. And I think I'm at my time.